I'm honored to have Vince on my show, Vince Ellison, and I've watched some of the stuff that you've put out, but the real reason, and I could probably talk to you for 2 or 3 hours. We're just shooting the shit earlier. And but what I would like to talk about is I've heard fascist, racist, and everything else talking about Charlie Kirk, and I want to hear from you as his friend. Who was Charlie Kirk?
Well, look, I've watched your show as well. You're doing awesome, man. You're doing good work. Thank you for doing it. People need to hear it. And thank you for having me on to talk about my good friend, Charlie Kirk, because like you said, the left has to lie on Charlie. And again, Charlie wasn't Jesus Christ, okay? So I'm not trying to compare Charlie to Jesus. But just like they lied on Jesus, you know, when he rose from the dead, what did they say? Ooh, they stole his body.
Somebody stole it.
They can't tell the truth on Charlie but here's a good thing. They didn't have the internet back then. They got it now.
Right.
And if anyone hears something negative about Charlie Kirk, I would just ask you to do your own research and if you find a sound bite, find the whole thing and watch it in context. And you will find out that there was not a racist bone in Charlie Kirk's body. How do I know? I knew Charlie. I knew him well. We talked a lot. I did speeches for TP USA, for Blexit. I was on his show almost a dozen times.
So what was Blexit?
Blexit is an offshoot of TP USA. Turning Point USA is the thing that Charlie started.
Okay.
Then Candace Owens got started with Charlie.
Okay.
And that's when it really blew up.
Okay.
In, maybe around 2015, 2016. So Candace and Charlie would go to these college campuses and they tag team them, right?
Okay.
So then Candace wanted to do a more of a concentrated concept of going to the black community.
Okay.
And she wanted to call it Blexit. It was a offshoot of the term when Britain left the EU and they called it Brexit.
Mm-hmm.
She called this Blexit. And she was talking about the black community leaving the Democratic Party. So TPUSA allowed Blexit to operate under their umbrella. And Candace started going to black colleges and black universities and talking about the conservative Christian message there. And it started doing very well. Then Candace left and she went to PragerU, then she went to Ben Shapiro. Now she's doing her own thing. But Blexit still remained. And there's a good young man there running Blexit now. His name is Pierre Wilson, and Pierre's running it, and it's still going strong. And we're going to expand it to a lot of HBCUs.
I think what's cool about that is I think when you dive deep down, that's not Charlie Kirk putting words to things. That's him putting money and his name and everything that he did behind something that's important to you.
Yeah.
So
and if Charlie was a racist, why would he do that, right?
Yeah. And so why is it so important to you as his friend to go to the black community, go to the black colleges and say, hey, this is the truth. This isn't like because it's life experiences that you've had.
It's interesting, man. 85% of black people say they're Christian.
Right.
About 75% of white people say they're Christian.
Right.
That's kind of our commonality. And you and I both have experienced this. And when black and white Christians sit down and talk, you got 99% of everything in common. Mm-hmm. We find out we're not enemies. But there are people on the left, and they're atheists, most of them. Marxists, socialists, atheists, liberals, cruel people. They want power. And the way they accumulate this power is by making sure that 90% of black people vote for the Democratic Party. My first book was called The Iron Triangle. I talked about this. I worked in the prison 5 years. And in the 90s, I saw all these young black men come into prison, the Clinton-Biden crime bill. Mm-hmm. And I asked the black intelligentsia, why are these young men coming to jail in such astronomical numbers? And they told me this lie. They said, well, evil, rich, white Republicans hate black people and won't lock them up. Well, I was naive then. And I said, well, I'm going to put a stop to this. So I started a nonprofit, went down into the black community. And when I got down there, I didn't see any evil, rich, white conservative Republicans anywhere. You see a unicorn before you saw one, right?
Right.
But what I saw was a bunch of black people making a lot of money off the progress, off of the chaos, I'm sorry. And I called this group the Iron Triangle.
Okay.
They were most black preachers, most black politicians, and most black civil rights workers. And they were conduits between rich white liberals who were paying them and the poor black community. And these guys' job was make sure the black people voted for the Democratic Party by hook or by crook. The black preacher was the worst. about 90% of these suckers are completely corrupt. And they are just contractors for the Democratic Party. When I ran for office in South Carolina for Congress, my father, who when I was born, he was a sharecropper, and he made his money in the insurance industry, and he had a gospel music a station in Brownsville. So he dealt with black preachers all the time. And my father took me to the side and said, "Son, listen to me. I taught you to revere the church, and I taught you to love God." He said, "But you trust a bootlegger before you trust a black preacher."
But I think what's weird about that is back in those days, when you looked at the Democratic Party, they were fairly conservative. I mean, you had a lot of conservative people, not the conservative that you see today,
right?
But you had people that were like genuinely interested in humankind, law and order, and everything else. And so, how do you go from a Democratic Party like that to what it is now?
Yeah, those old blue dog Democrats you're talking about. Yes. Man, it came out of the civil rights movement.
Okay.
You had a bunch of Marxists and communists and weirdos and hippies and feminists and ne'er-do-wells that jumped into the civil rights movement and took our moral absoluteness. And when Martin Luther King Jr. got shot, they tried to take over the Democratic Party in 1968 at the convention in Chicago. And you remember Mayor Daley sent the hard hats out there and beat them all up, and they started screaming, "The whole world is watching, the whole world is watching." And so Saul Alinsky was there. And he said, "Y'all got three choices: either go either go somewhere and cry and find yourself a Wailing Wall, start throwing bombs, and if you do that, you're going to turn people over to the GOP, or come back in 4 years and you be the delegates." And they chose the third one. They went home, they regrouped, and in 1972, they came to Florida, Miami, Florida, to the convention. They were so organized that Mayor Daley, the guy that had run them out of Chicago, they ran him out in Miami.
That's good.
They took over the party, and that was the first time that the Democratic Party had gay rights, had abortion, had all this feminist crap put into the party. Richard Nixon cleaned their clocks that year, destroyed them. So what did they do to Nixon? They put Watergate on him.
Okay.
Gerald Ford became president. He went down, and they brought in Carter. Carter tried to implement a lot of this stuff, and who cleaned his clock? Ronald Reagan. And the American people kept rejecting this foolishness. Bill Clinton came in, tried to do some of it. What did they do? They cleaned his clock. Newt Gingrich came in. Bill Clinton went back conservative. And then finally they got their one. And who was that? Barack Hussein Obama. And Obama was smart. While he was running, he ran as a moderate. And you can recall he said he believed the marriage between one man and one woman. When they asked about abortion, it's above my pay grade. He didn't say anything about Obamacare, anything Obamacare, reparations, nothing. But then he gets in office, and what does he do? Obamacare is the first thing he does. Sex change operations in Obamacare for free sex change operations, free abortion in Obamacare, forced insurance companies to cover sex change operations and abortions, started allowing illegals to come in, lying about it. He's telling people he's deporting them. But what he did was he lied. He started taking illegals that were called turnarounds before. Then he started calling them deportations. But he was allowing other ones in. So Obama allowed the daggum illegals in. Okay, people rejected him and brought in Trump. But we understand what happened with Trump. COVID, impeachment. Biden comes in and tries to keep the thing going. We reject it again, and we bring Trump back in. And Trump says, "I'm tired of this." And he is destroying the whole foundation of the Democratic Party. From the cartels, he's blowing up these ships, to the drugs, to the money laundering, to the unions, to Antifa. Everything that makes them work, the colleges and the universities, the grants and colleges, all the money going to these NGOs. He's drying it all up, and they're freaking out because Trump is destroying the foundation of this evil institution. He went to the Supreme Court to say, no, you can't do sex change operations to children. He's stopping the whole trans movement in its tracks. And so he's pushing all of this stuff back because America finally understood, because of people like you and me and others out there, these are the ones that are doing this. Right. This isn't coming from the ether. This is planned. It's organized. And they lay their head at the DNC and at the Democratic Party. And now that people know it and they saw it, man, they saw it in live and living color at this Charlie Kirk memorial. Not one Democrat showed up.
Really?
Not one.
Nobody,
and just said,
nobody from leadership or anything?
Nobody. We had the Speaker of the House there. We had the President there, the Vice President there. Leon Musk showed up for his respect. Glenn Beck showed up. Patrick Bet-David showed up. All of these people, not one Democrat showed up to just stand up and say, look, I might not agree with Charlie Kirk.
But he was a good man.
He was a good man, had the right to say what happened to him was tragic. Let's bring the country together. Let's stop all of this violence. You know why? Because they wanted him dead.
So, you know, kind of what you're saying triggers a thought process in me as far as how things work. And you talk about how people go back and forth with each other. And I think that was what was really unique about Charlie.
Yes.
He could have a conversation with somebody he disagreed with.
Yes.
And he wasn't trying to change their mind. He was just trying to give them the other side of the story.
Yes.
So with everything that's going on in the world today with the Democratic Party and everything else, what is the other side of the story that was so terrifying? Just like when you were a kid, if you lost an argument or anything else, all you had left is the name calling.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we fascist? Why are we racist? All those things. Why are we like that? And what is the end game for the Democratic Party when it comes to that?
They can't beat our argument. They cannot do it because, see, when I go on a college campus and you have a child that's 20 years old that's been told since Obama that America is systemically racist. And I asked him where he's from. He's from Chicago, Detroit, da, 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 da. I said, well, all the systems in the area you came from is controlled by the Democratic Party. They control the systems in the black community. They control the schools. They control the jails. They control the judges. They control the prisons. I mean, you know, they control the systems that you call us systemically racist. No, your Democratic Party is racist. Well, they talk about white privilege. I said, well, it is a privilege to be white, but it's also a privilege to be black. It's a privilege to be Hispanic. It's a privilege to be Asian, Jewish. God gave us all privileges. Then when they say, well, white supremacy. So white supremacy? White supremacy is like voodoo, son. You got to believe it for it having an effect on you. I don't have a problem with him feeling good about himself, or if he thinks that he's supreme. A lot of white boys jumped in the ring with Muhammad Ali thinking that they was going to whoop him and him getting knocked out. No, your job is to feel good about yourself, not try to pull somebody else down. This is America, boy. You better compete when you go out there. That guy's going to bring his. You better bring yours. You're a football player. You know that. Yeah. Your job ain't. Your job might be to demoralize him on that line of scrimmage.
Right.
But you're not going to talk him into feeling inferior to you. You got to prove that you're better.
You got to win.
That's it. And that's the mindset that I throw at these people all the time. So I walk into a campus and I walk up into the room all of a sudden. I said, you talk about white supremacy, huh? That you have white privilege over me? I said, show me your white privilege over me. Let's put it to the test. Who in this room think that you have privilege over me? And I said, it's an illusion, it's an anomaly. And if they come to me with DEI and try to defend it, all I say to them is this: you do need DEI because you're inferior. I don't need it. My brothers don't need it. My sisters don't need it. My friends don't need it. But you're inferior-minded, and you're going to need it for the rest of your life. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you a one-room apartment, about $1,000 a month, let you stand on the porch and drink 40s while the rest of us go do great things. They can't break our argument. The problem they have with us is one thing. We believe in the thing they hate the most, and that's Jesus Christ. When I say these people are evil, I'm not playing with it. You're aborting babies up to the 9th month. You're castrating little boys and calling them little girls. You're giving double mastectomies to little girls and calling them little boys. You're allowing demented men to go into the bathroom with your wife and your children while they urinate. You're allowing demented men to go into the locker rooms with your daughters while they change clothes. You're allowing demented men to play in sports with your daughters, man. You're allowing drag queens to go into the schools and shake their behinds in your sons' faces. You're pulling the Bible out of the libraries, putting porn in. And these people couldn't show up at the Charlie Kirk event because it would have been like bringing Dracula into a church. They can't stand that. Now, you saw how they rioted with George Floyd and all the rest of them, right? We didn't do any rioting.
But how do we get because I feel like all the stuff, because I was a recipient of the police reform and the way we police, and basically what it did is it told the police, don't go out there and make contact with the community, because if you do, you're going to be called all these names. And so how does the I don't even think it's the right. I don't want to claim one thing over the other, but I thought one of the most interesting podcasts I ever saw was Dan Bonagino had a guy, and I think you're talking about far left, far right, but like I think there are a lot of people in both parties that want to arrive at a certain destination. How has the group that you're talking about, the evil group, silenced all the good people?
They have a lot of money. It comes from a lot of evil people. The George Soroses, the Pritzkers, the Disney family, and they have a lot of money.
Okay.
And they come in and they fund the whole party. And they've actually run everybody else out. The abortion industry, the teachers' unions, the atheists, they have bundled and they are giving hundreds of millions of dollars to the Democratic Party. And if you are a Democrat Party candidate, you have to side with them to win. And you know what? And I've talked to Democrats in office that are in something like a majority black district. And they say, man, if I don't side with these people, they're going to give their money to a guy that will. And what I can do, Vince, is I can talk to you and tell you how to maneuver around this and get something done. But when in public, I got to speak out against you. But you're right on school choice. These schools are terrible. You're right on us bringing the family back together. You're right on us bringing God back into the public square. You're right on this LGBTQ stuff. You're right on immigration. They're bringing all of these immigrants up to our city, and we don't have enough for our own children.
Right.
And now we have to, our children, our teachers have to take half of the school day to teach a child that can't speak English
how to get through their schoolwork.
How to get through the school day. And our children are suffering. They're bringing crime. We only got a certain amount of housing here. And then they come in and the rents go up. Then the crime goes up. And they don't want it, but they said, if we come out against it, the Democratic Party takes our funding. So what I have to do is assist you. Go talk to that person in my city. Go talk to this person in my city. Go get on the radio station in my city and tell my people about it and have them make me do it.
So here's a question, and I'm sure have you met Winsome Sears?
Oh yes, I met.
And you listen to her story.
Yes.
How can you be? I don't care if you're black, white, or who you are. How could you not embrace a story like that? A story of success. Like she served her country. She came here from another country, served her country, did all those things, but yet somehow it pisses me off.
Yeah.
The PBA endorsed a Democrat. And we've on the law enforcement side see what happens when those policies come into effect.
Yeah.
Why are communities not embracing? Because I think people want law and order. They want more law enforcement. But how do you get people out, the general public, how do you educate them and say, hey, this person is not good for you?
You know what? Charlie Kirk was doing something, which is what I'm doing and you're doing, that the RNC has never done well. In times of peace, you plan for war.
Okay.
Like you guys practice all the time. For when stuff breaks off.
Right.
You're prepared for it. You don't practice, well, the stuff that broke off, let's start practicing. No. You practice when it breaks off. The RNC wants to start going into the black community 2 weeks before an election, whereas the Democrats are there all the time. And 80% of any gig is over vaudevillian term. 80% of any gig is just showing up, being there, letting the people see you on the ground all the time. For years, the RNC will not go into the black community, and there's a big reason behind that. They made a deal in 1992 that if the black Democrats and the Republicans come together and draw these districts, that they'll stay out of the black community in perpetuity. So when you go into Richmond or Norfolk, any of these black areas, they haven't seen a Republican in 40 years in these areas. And they've already formed an opinion upon somebody like Winsome Sears. Why? Because their black pastor told them. And he's a no good line, and I don't care, the NAACP and the SELC and the rest of these, Antifa and Black Lives Matter told them, right? The teachers from the teachers unions told them. So all the people who they know are in contact to every day, who are being paid by the Democrats, have already told them who Winsome Sears is. And so when Winsome shows up, in their minds, she's already been called all these terrible names, and she's working for the white folks, and and because she only has a finite amount of time to change their minds, it's almost an impossibility. So what do? People like you and I doing our podcast, trying to educate people all the time about what's going on out there in real time. And since the election of Donald Trump, man, Charlie had about maybe 4 conferences. Last time I saw Charlie was a conference in Tampa. It was Tampa Bay, in Tampa Bay. Man, there was so many people at that conference. But he had, Tucker was there, Don Jr. was there, and we were all talking about the things we're talking about now, bringing Christ back into our lives. School choice, so we can teach our children the way we want to teach them. What does the Bible say about family? What does the Bible say about abortion? Everything that Charlie did and I do and Blexit does, it comes from the Bible. We support it through our scripture. And I've always told people, as Jesus said, a double-minded man is unbalanced in all of his ways. You cannot have a Christian point of view socially and then vote for liberalism politically. You'll have a cultural flux. You'll have conflict consistently. So we believe in the Bible, but we're going to send our children to schools that teaches them that homosexuality and gay marriage and transgenderism is okay. You can't have that. So we at TPUSA at Blexit, where I also do speeches for the Young Americans Foundation, my books, my podcasts, my documentaries, all of them come from this fundamental point of view. Are you a Christian? Yes, I am. Then this is how you're supposed to respond to these things. Period. There ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. Well, can I leave my religion aside when I vote? No.
But how? So one of the things I think people say a lot about Christians is they're judging people. And I think if you listen to Charlie Kirk, he didn't judge anybody. He didn't. And so how do people get the messaging out there to say, I love you as a human, but what you're doing is wrong?
The greatest attribute of love is telling the truth. Love is an action verb.
Okay.
We tell you the truth. If I hear that you're my friend and you're on crack cocaine, I ain't gonna sit there and enable you. I'm gonna say, what's this I hear about you doing crack, man? No, you're gonna stop it is what you're gonna do. And as a friend, I'm gonna demand a standard of you. Always.
Right.
You'll demand it of me. This is how we sharpen each other as men. We hold each other to account. Come here, Vince, let me holler at you about something. What? So. You gonna make that right? Okay, all right. Got your word? Got your word, all right. And that's it. And as men, we shake hands. Ain't no written contract.
It's accountability.
It's accountability. And we hold each other. And the Christians do that. We were told to do it. Love one another. Give forbearance to one another. Sharpen one another. That's what that means. Hold you to account. Pull you to the side. Talk to you. Gird you up. You do the same for me. And when we do that, we help one another. But we don't enable one another. I tell you the truth. That's why they hated Jesus Christ. He went in that temple and said, you think the Romans are your problem? No. Your problem is them suckers right over there. The Sanhedrin, the Pharisees, the Sadducees. That's your problem.
Right.
And that's when they start to kill him. Charlie went out and told people, look, man, you're a grown man and you still own your mother's breasts, which is the government. Cut that mess out and get to work. And what happens? They both hate you, don't they? Because there's a codependency going on. You got this demented mom that gets some type of pleasure out of her son still on his breast, and he's 7 or 8 years old, and he gets some type of pleasure on it. And then you come and you confront that codependency, and both of them look at you and get angry. And they get mad at the person that's told them the truth. Nobody's hated more than the truth teller.
Okay.
A guy that tells you, you're a grown man, get to work. Boy, that'd make you angry if you be in the house laying down on a hot day and your daddy come in and say, boy, did I tell you to mow that yard?
Right.
Yes, sir. What is it, mowed?
It's
no,
not.
sir.
Right.
Get out there and do it. You mad, but it's true.
But you're out there mowing it.
You out there mowing it.
So how do we get people to start mowing the grass?
Well, what we have to do is tell them the truth. Men like you and I hold them to account, look them in the eye. Boy, you know better than that. Instead of just walking past like we usually do now, that you can't judge. Well, when you tell me I can't judge, you're judging me. So you're a liar. Yeah, we have to judge rightly. That's what our Bible tells us. Judge rightly. Look, and we have to understand what this judgment thing is. Okay, you have the prosecutor, you have the defense, you have the jury, and you have the judge. The the jury just finds you guilty.
Right.
They don't put the punishment on you.
No.
The judge puts the punishment on you. That's the judgment. So when our Bible talks about judging people, that means putting punishment on them.
Okay.
You've done wrong. Now I'm going to punish you. No, but I can say you've done wrong.
Okay.
I can look at you and say, it's like telling you that you got on a red coat. It's true.
Right.
I mean, if I catch you stealing and you're stealing, boy, that's wrong.
Right.
Now, do I have a right to then take a baseball bat and beat you in the street for it? No. That's what the authorities do. So when people talk about judgment, it is not forming an opinion. That's not judgment. Judgment is throwing the penalty down. You arrest the guy, you ain't judging it.
Mm-mm.
I'm going to take you, and the prosecutor's going to decide whether to prosecute you or not.
Right.
And then we're going to take you to a jury, and the jury's going to find whether you're guilty or innocent. And then the judge is going to get up there and he can say, well, okay, you can go. Or he can put the time on you.
So one of the things that I think, and my brain just works in like steps, and I feel like the reason you are here and the reason you have the thought processes you have and the beliefs that you have is the way that you were raised.
Yes.
We have a whole generation that wasn't raised like that.
Boy, no.
And so and I feel like that's what Charlie was doing.
Yeah,
he was that shock
Yeah.
that said, no, it stops today.
Yes.
You know, like to use your example, he just broke the seal off that nipple. And,
yes, there you go. It stops today.
It stops today. How do we move forward? So I don't think you'll ever replace what Charlie Kirk did. No. But what do we tell these kids? We send some of our people out to the local campuses to talk to these kids, and they have a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
But how do we convert that into action? Because I think Charlie was action.
Yes, he was. One of the things, and this is the reason why I support school choice.
Okay.
School is mandatory.
Yes.
And you have it almost every day. And this one-size-fit-all of education is not working. America for a long time was a bottom-up system where in the 40s and 50s when me and your mom and daddy went to school, they knew that the parents were not educated. They just weren't.
Right.
And so they knew they were going to have to get those children and start from the bottom up. The most uneducated child from the most ignorant backwood of cotton plantation. And we got to teach these children everything. And they did. My father and your father and mama learned how to read and write for the first ones in their family, and we learned. Now it's a top-down system where you got to have two parents in the house. You got to have a stable environment, and you got to have all that, and then the child does well. But the bottom children do terribly. But the top children, we have options. You know, your children and mine got options. I can send them to a private school if I want to, if the public education. You got a nice suburban school, but these children at the bottom, and the Democrats benefit from that. They have no incentive to change it.
Because they have dependency.
Yes. So what happens? This is what I love about Trump. One of the things I love about him the most is school choice. Most people, unless they are insane, want their child to have a better chance at life than they do.
Right.
They want them to get a better education than they have. They want their sons to grow up able to take care of themselves and their mother. School choice is that opportunity. When Donald Trump was a hothead, what does his daddy do? Send him to a military academy.
Right.
So, boy, dadgummit, I'm tired of you. I'm on the road working all the time. You at home showing your ass. I got something for you. And there are a lot of parents that have that ability, but a lot of parents don't. But I can guarantee you, if you walk into a house with a mama with 3 children, their daddy in jail, dead, or just gone, and they're not doing well in school, and me and you walk in there and say, Miss Jones, yes, we got a school down here in this city. It's going to cost you nothing because you got school choice. That money going to follow your child. We're going to put him in a uniform. We're going to teach him to be a man. This is an all-boys school. We're going to teach him about his religion. We're going to teach him how to take orders. We're going to teach him to be a man. You send your boy to us, by the time he gets to be 18 years old, he's going to be taking care of you. He ain't going to be in jail. He ain't going to be around here with 3 or 4 baby mamas. He ain't going to be on dope. He's going to grow up and he can either go to college, he's going to go to the military, he's going to get a job. And he's going to be a good law-abiding citizen. I promise you. Send him to us. I guarantee you they'll do it. But you know what? The Democrats will fight you tooth and nail before they give you that. That's how we change it.
Because of the union. The
teacher unions give them so much money. They give 99% of their money to the Democratic Party, and it's hundreds of millions of dollars. You know, that stupid mayor up in Chicago, all in the teachers' union's pockets, all in it. And he's in trouble right now because he promised them so much money, but then he gave the money to the illegals, and he's got to sue. So that's the thing. That's the fight. If we're going to change this, we got to go back again, and we can change it in one generation if we can just and whenever. I'll give you a good example. Hurricane Katrina tore down New Orleans. Just read in the Washington Post, I think it's the 25th anniversary or something like that. They were talking about the miracle in New Orleans with the public educational system. It tore down all the schools, and New Orleans needed money to build the schools back. But in Baton Rouge, the Republicans were running the show. And they said the only way you get any money from the state of Louisiana or from the feds is that you got to put school choice in New Orleans when we rebuild those schools. New Orleans had to do it. They fired 7,000 teachers. They put up charter schools and private schools. Now New Orleans has one of the best public educational systems in the whole United States of America, and they call it a miracle. Why? Choice. They know how to do it. And these Democrats looked at New Orleans and said, we can't do that anywhere else, y'all. If we do, we're done. They had vouchers in Washington, D.C. Barack Obama and the parents gave it a 95% approval rating. Barack Obama comes in and cuts them out. Why? Teachers union said we don't want them. Why? They don't want the competition.
Right.
The KIPP academies, all the Knowledge is Power academies, all over the country, love them. These people, this is why they say they're evil. For you to take a child and send them to school 12 years and they leave not being able to read, they just did a poll, CNN gave this one, say 63% of American children can read. And that's 63%. And we're not talking about the ones that don't read well. This is proficient and everything else. If you can't read, you can't do anything.
Right.
And they have these stats and they say full speed ahead. And then they're still fighting against school choice in places like Baltimore, where not one school is proficient in math, reading, or science. Detroit, the same. They know what they're doing. It works for them. It's a modern-day plantation system. Like those slave masters knew what he was doing, don't teach them to read. Because an educated man cannot be a slave. An educated man cannot be a dependent. An educated man will not be controlled. So what do? Keep them uneducated. Very simple.
I think that's a key point. I know we experienced that in Afghanistan. We said that there is no way this will happen in the first generation. We're 3 generations away from this working, and it's just because they have to see the success.
Yes.
They have to see, hey, I made this investment, and now because of this, it's gotten better. And I think that's the key is how do you get the message out that like number one, there is a choice.
Yes.
But number two, that choice can do a lot of good things.
Well, we're almost there. Because Trump is he's just mailing the Department of Education, and right now a lot of states have school choice programs, and they're expanding them incrementally. A lot of red states do. Blue states still fight against it, but as people start seeing that the red states have these school choice programs, as you know, you're already having a mass migration back to the red states. South Carolina and Tennessee and Florida and Texas are just booming. And Texas just started a school choice program. And so as these school choice, and Florida has a real nice one. And so as these programs pick up steam, and as the children get older and older, we can start assessing them better. I think Florida said there's like maybe 3 years. DeSantis got a real good school choice program down in Florida. So you can assess what the children are doing, and I think that's going to be our way out of this quagmire by teaching children again, like you said, holding them accountable, putting guardrails in front of them and letting them understand absolutes, making it binary. It's not right to give a child all of these different options, because the child's going to always take the easiest one. I used to love being at home when my daddy went there because I could do what I wanted to do. Soon as the old man comes home, it stops. The guardrails go up, man.
Right.
But it taught you discipline and order.
And you were productive.
And you were productive. All the foolishness. Mama let us do what we wanted to do. Oh, we could get away with all kind of crap. And Mama, shh.
She's too busy. She's too busy.
She was too busy. She was too tired. She go into the closed room with the door and go to sleep. And we just be running all through the house. But when Dad comes, it stops. Everything gets done. Everything's orderly. Everything's right. And it kept us, and he had 4 sons. So it kept us out of trouble. And I love him today for my dad's 83 years old. And I just say him every time I see him how much I loved him. He was mean as hell when I was growing up, but I see why you had to do it. Now he's just nice, gentle old guy. But he understood that he had to keep his sons in line so that we did not end up in jail or dead or strung out on dope. And he did it.
I think for me, I think when you look at kind of the evolution of what the federal government used to be and what state governments were, it's almost like they've flip-flopped.
Yeah.
Law and order is at the federal system now because you have an executive branch that is actually going and being aggressive.
Yeah.
So how do we get the word out there to people and say, hey, look at what Trump is doing. You might like it, dislike it, or whatever, but it's still moving forward. But how do we prepare local and state governments for this responsibility that they haven't had before, that the Department of Education had? Because if the localities aren't prepared for it, really doesn't. It does. I mean, I guess the example you gave in New Orleans, maybe it's going to be like, you're going to have to figure it out. We're going to give you the framework, but you're going to follow the framework. And maybe that's the answer. Maybe the answer is framework, figure it out.
You know what? One of the coolest things that have happened within the last 5 or 6 years, it's like when Rush got on AM radio. They cut FM out for us. They didn't want us on FM because they control FM with all the music and whatnot. And then Rush went on to AM, where people talk about farm reports and stuff like that, right? And people started listening. And then everybody else started going on AM radio. And AM radio became the talk radio and became the place where conservatives went to hear the truth. And that's where Reagan came from. And that's where Bush came from. And now what has happened? They cut us out of cable television. We had CNN, MSNBC, ABC. We only had basically Fox and maybe Newsmax. But now what's happened? Podcasters like you and I out there now. And they can't control this space. And Trump went into that space this last time. With Rogan. And Rogan and Patrick Bet-David and many others. And then just people like me and you out here talking about what was going on. And people listening again. And something happened in the black community that was amazing. Republicans never got 80% of the black vote since Reconstruction. 20%. Democrats had been getting 90% and above. And that's how they win, that 90% or above. Anything below 90, it becomes very hard for them. We finally broke into that. And it went down to 80%. And Trump's landslide came from that. It came from the fact that he won Philadelphia. He didn't win it. He got more votes in Philadelphia.
It wasn't 80-20.
There it was. But he got enough because he had lost Pennsylvania by like 10,000 votes the first time. I think he lost 7 states by 40,000 votes. We made all of that up, see? We knew where to hit and we knew who to talk to. So me being a black conservative, talking to people in Atlanta, talking to people in Philly. I did Blexit pieces in Philadelphia. I did one in Detroit. I was doing them all in black communities, and black people were showing up. They're showing up with my books. They're showing up saying they've listened to my podcast. They've showed up talking about your podcast is must-see TV. We get around the TV, and neighbors come and we watch it together. And we are telling people, come watch this, and it's changing their minds. They are finally seeing it because, as I've said before on my podcast, you got 3 types of Democrats. I call them ICE Democrats.
Okay.
ICE, ignorant, crazy, and evil.
Okay.
80% of it are ignorant. They just don't know. Hell, I didn't know when I was young.
Right.
So I understand that.
Right.
You get your information from the preacher, from black radio, from the NAACP, and then from black politicians. So you're ignorant. Then you got the ones that are crazy. You've seen them, on dope, got some type of mental, homeless. We pray for them.
Right.
There ain't much you can do for them. You don't make fun of them. You don't try to hurt them. You pray for them. And then you got the evil. And those are the ones that run the party. They know exactly what they're doing.
They're taking advantage of the I and the C.
There you go. They know exactly what they're doing. There's Joe Biden that says he's a Catholic, but he votes for 9-month abortion. They bring these illegals over him sleeping on the streets like dogs. Have these people walk thousands of miles to come up and then give them sanctuary in these cities and knowing that they're going to be sleeping in alleyways and going to soup kitchens. Evil people, that want to do transgender operations as children. That understand. And you saw Mike Walsh showed this video, this woman at Vanderbilt Hospital, saying that if we catch them young, we can make hundreds of thousands of dollars off of them. $100,000 for the operation, and then $1 million for the hormones that we have to give them.
The care that they would need to maintain that.
And now that the government is paying for it and insurance is paying for it, we need to get in on this. And it became a money-making deal for them. And so they're trying to catch children because this is when they're malleable. See, they ain't going to transition me and you.
Right.
They missed their wonder was, right?
Right.
But so where do you go? Children, 12, 13, 14 years old.
Where their brain hasn't developed.
There it is.
And You're going to tell them what the new normal is.
Yeah.
And they're going to go, oh, that sounds pretty good.
And it's turned into a social contagion.
Okay.
And they've happened before. And they say that if little girls are in a group, if one girl becomes transgender, they said the whole group turns transgender. Mm-hmm. And these therapists are seeing this in groups of girls coming up saying they're transgender, and they take advantage of it. Well, hell, man, this is free money. And so they first it's the therapy, then it's the drugs, then it's the operation, and then it's giving them the hormones in inside perpetuity. It's a money-making scam for these people. This is why I say they're evil. But when you explain to people, this is something that we didn't do very well. We didn't put in a box. We talk about these things, and most people say, oh, that's terrible. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, that's evil. But we didn't say the Democrats are doing it. We just let them think it's out there.
And it doesn't. You don't show the driving force.
Exactly. It's like when AIDS came out. We knew people were dying of something.
Right.
And then Dr. Gallo finally found the AIDS virus, and he said, that's it. And when they found the virus, we knew how to combat it. They were right to start it. So when you say it's the Democratic Party that's doing this, people say, what? So my dad was one of those old Kennedy, Democrats. And when I sat down and told my daddy about 9-month abortion, he said, son, that's murder. He said, Dad, that's your party now. He said, no, it's not. And I showed it to him. And I told him this Obamacare was sex change operations. He said, what do you, I'd explained to him what it was, because they said, a gender-affirming care.
Okay.
But when you say, no, that's castrating a little boy. And he couldn't even wrap his mind around that.
Right.
Cutting off the breasts of little girls. And then when I explained it to him, and I said, so if you're voting for these people, that's what you're voting for. You're complicit in this. And first time in his life, he voted against the Democratic Party. See, I can't do it. They left me. I said, Daddy, you didn't leave them. They left you. And he understood. And that's what I tell people. I had an opportunity to go to a church in Memphis, Tennessee, World Overcomers, 10,000 member church, biggest black church in the South. The pastor there was a guy by the name of Alton Williams. Alton was strong, cold conservative. He couldn't preach too much politics in his pulpit, but he preached enough of it for the congregation to know who he was. He brought me in for Black History Month. And when I went back there to meet with him, I said, okay, Alton, this is your church. What is it that I can't say? He said, for you, nothing. Me, I got to do, but for you, I bought you here. I bought you here to tear it down. Tell them what's going on.
Tell them the truth. I
said, all right, Alton, you sure? He said, I'm sure. When I told Sean Hannity and Tucker I was going, they took bets on how long I was going to be alive. But this was 5 miles where Martin Luther King Jr. got killed. And I got up there, man, and I did my spiel. It's on my channel. I did the speech. I got 5 standing ovations at the end of it. My dad was there. My brothers and sisters were there. The people.
But that was home. That was almost home to you.
It was.
Because you went to school down there and
everything.
It
was. And boy, and I walked up there, and the devil got in my head, and he said, man, you're going to get up there and you're going to make a fool out of yourself. They're going to boo you off that stage. You're going to be embarrassed in front of your family, your hometown, and nobody going to be up there to save you. And when I walked up there, I did not know how I was going to receive by that crowd. I had no idea. But when I started talking about my walk with Christ, how you have to choose a side. Are you going to serve God or man? Are you going to do what Jesus said when he went up to that man that had been sitting by the pool for 40 years? And Jesus walked up to him and said, do you want to be made whole? Mm-hmm. People think Jesus went and patted him. Oh, boy, do you want to be made whole? No, he looked at it probably with contempt. You been there how long? 40 years. Man, do you want to be made whole? Well, yes. Then he gave 3 commands. Rise, take up your bed, and walk.
Right.
Hell wrong with you. And he stood up and did it. I said, that's Charlie Kirk. Confrontation. You a man or not? Yes, I am. Why aren't you acting like one? Oh, man, you cold. Yeah, I'm cold. But you've seen it, haven't you? Mm-hmm. Being an officer, you've seen Joker that got more excuses than a crackhead going to jail about everything, about how he can't make it, this and that and the other. And you just said, look, man, you're a man or not. End of story. And then they say, I'm a man. All right, then, I'll help you. Right. And like I said, if you need a good preacher, I'll take you to one. You need a job, I'll help you find one. If you need to learn to read or write, I'll get you into a program to teach you that. Short of that, I'm not going to live in condemnation for you. You're going to make me feel bad about something somebody did 150 years ago before I was even born. Right. Going to tell me because of what the color of my skin? Hell no, man. I have to work for everything I got. This is America. Nobody gives you anything. My last name is not Rockefeller or Kennedy.
Right.
I had to earn it. And if you're willing to work, you'll earn it. Now, short of that, and you've heard me say this, if you come try to take anything from me or mine, I got two things that's going to get you off of me. And that is Jesus and my 38. You better not try me.
Right.
Short of that, though, I'll help you with anything.
Right.
And that's why I love this place here. The people up here are the best people in the world, man. They say I might be pro, but I ain't lazy.
Right.
Yeah, but you pull your car in a ditch, there'll be 5 guys stopping behind you and pull you out.
Right.
You know, they'll go hunting, they'll leave a side of meat on your porch with a little note for you, man. If it's harvest time to go in the garden, they done got to leave you some corn up there. Right. It's just good people, but they're hardcore women and men of Jesus. Mm-hmm. And they hold each other to a standard. And that standard's got nothing to do with your money or how big your house is. What type of human being are you?
Yeah. What are you contributing?
That's it. What type of man, what type of woman are you? And that's how you show your worth. See, these are the lessons we got to go back to. Those lessons of when those men fought in the American Revolution and beat the British Army. What did they do? They all just went back home.
Yep, like it never happened.
I did my duty and I went back home.
Yeah.
George Washington went back to Mount Vernon. They all went back home. And they just became Americans.
So in going to Charlie's funeral and everything else, where do they go from here? Where does America go from losing a statesman like that?
Charlie is irreplaceable, but what he did, I mean, you've seen this guy's stuff. Charlie was just a whole nother level.
I've never seen someone that could be firm, fair, and honest.
Yeah.
And still care about the person.
And fearless.
Yeah.
You just go up there in front of thousands of people to beside, ask me anything. Charlie walked into a room knowing he was the smartest joker in there.
And I think that's crazy. I think what people don't realize from everything that I've seen is it didn't used to be I have 200 people in the background supporting me and the 2 or 3 outliers that are coming in to like question what I did. It used to be the other way around.
Yeah.
And those 3 or 4 are probably not going to be really vocal. They might come up to them after the show and say, hey, I appreciate you coming here and being that person. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, Charlie will go in, and what they're doing now at Turning Point, they're putting chapters up in almost every high school and every college. And they're going to be debating societies where children who have been afraid to speak are now going to speak. And they're going to debate these issues, and they're going to debate, and Christians are going to debate other Christians. Now, you know, sometimes people of faith have a lot of things in common. Mm-hmm. Abortion, LGBTQ, things like that. People of faith are going to talk to other people of faith about making sure that their faith is the thing that leads them in the political realm. Every part of your life should be led by how you walk with God. Your religion is your foundation, and we've made it a hobby, something that we pick up and do when we want to. And Charlie Kirk was saying, no, it's not that. It's not that. He challenges men to be men of God. He challenges women to be women of God. And with the feminism craze around, that's a real tough one. Because if you ask a woman to do something like, why are you going to submit to your husband? What do you mean submit? He said, hold on now.
Right.
Let's talk about this. It turns into a fight. If you want to talk to some church about maybe what they talk about a whole lot of women being preachers or ministers in the pulpit, they want to get mad. I don't care what the Bible says. It's a pride thing.
Right.
C.S. Lewis said that the biggest sin is pride. He said it is the most damnable of all sins. All sin comes from pride. Right. That Satan, it was pride that led him to rebel against God. And we have this pride, especially in America. And we talk about it openly. Gay pride, black pride, LGBTQ pride, Hispanic, being proud. And God said, I hate pride. Mm-hmm. He didn't say I disliked it. Yeah, I hate it. And it's the opposite of being humble. I asked my dad when I was a boy, he would always make sure I said yes sir, no sir to everybody.
Right.
I asked him, why I gotta say yes sir, no sir to people I don't even know. He said, son, listen, these people have knowledge and they have access. You can only get their knowledge if you're humble. If you walk up to them and you play football, right? The coach calls you and you're like, coach knows. Go there, sit down. He knows you're not listening.
Right.
But you run there, you look at the coach and I say, yes, sir. Yes, sir, coach. Yes, sir. He'll say, okay, son, now go do it. Because coach knows you're humble. If you go back and say, my bad, coach, I'm sorry. What did I do wrong? Right. And the coach sit down and show you. But I ain't do nothing. You did it. You just the coach will say, go sit down.
Right.
The yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, sir shows you you're humble, that you're ready to receive information. Your pride has been put to the side. But you walk up there with pride, son. Can't nobody help you. And I understood that. And you and I both know, and you being a cop, you understand this. When people come to you in that pride thing, you get, all right now. But if somebody comes to you, officer, I'm sorry.
No.
And I was driving too fast. Your demeanor changes completely against that person.
Right.
And it's a human element. We have too much pride. And Jesus was the most humble servant that there was. You remember when he washed his disciples' feet? Peter got an attitude. Said, oh, no. You ain't washing my feet. He said, Peter, it's always you. It's always you.
Right.
I have to humble myself. I'm your servant.
Right.
And he said, you're going to have to do the same thing. You got to humble yourself. And that's the hardest thing for us to do because black people especially was taught in the civil rights movement to be prideful. This is what I didn't like about it. Jesus said you change the heart. We want to use the law. We wanted to expedite it by going to Washington as opposed to dealing with our neighbors, dealing with a man on man, person to person. And it would have slowly, and it would have been organic, and it would have been right.
Right.
Instead, you come down and you have the federal government put a gun to your neighbor's head, and then he bows his back, and you never reconcile. And Billy Graham wanted to start a crusade with Martin Luther King Jr., as Billy Graham did. Billy Graham would not have a segregated campaign. Everybody's coming. If I hold a tent meeting, everybody's invited.
Right.
If I go into a stadium, everybody is invited. And I'm going to proclaim Christ to everyone. And Billy Graham saved more souls than anybody did behind that.
Right.
Martin Luther King Jr. never called people to the altar, never told them to profess Christ as their Savior. He went to government and said, use the gun on your neighbor. And people want to say that's virtuous. It's not. That's not how we Christians do it. We talk to one another. We give forbearance to one another. We forgive one another. We pray for one another. And at the end of the day, we love one another.
Right.
And that's what we have to talk about more than anything. Loving one another, helping one another, showing the real character of God to our neighbors, like we did at Charlie's, memorial. The whole world saw it. And they're aghast at it. And then, the liberals, there's like a prayer meeting, people professing Christ, and they hate black people. I said, oh, man, did you see the black people there? Good gracious. No, they equate being black with being lazy and needing government and being on government programs. And then if you take those away, then you're somehow racist. And they're the real racist, because that's not what being black or an American is. Yeah, we believe in the social safety net. We believe in that, but it shouldn't be a hammock. We believe we're supposed to enable people and encourage people and say, okay, son.
Give them the tools.
Give them the tools. One of your children come back home today, I done hit the wall, man, I lost everything. It's okay, son, come on home, get yourself together. Then after about maybe 3 or 4 days, okay, what's your plan?
Licking your wounds and then going back to work.
That's right. Daddy should help you get back on your feet, but you gotta get back on that horse and ride it now. And you encourage him. And you press him to do it. That's where love comes from. Or you come home 3 years later, he laying on your couch and got fat. Man. You haven't done that boy any good.
So I have one more question for you. And I think from my standpoint, we've done a lot of law enforcement on this show. How does law enforcement do a better job communicating with the citizenry that we service and say, we're not here to commit acts of violence against you or anything else, but we will uphold the law.
Yes.
And if you choose violence, we will meet violence with violence.
There's 2 things I've seen law enforcement get very, very good at lately. Showing mercy. Mm-hmm. You catch a guy speeding.
Right.
You let him go.
Yes, sir.
You check his license. Okay, man, you're straight. I'll let you go. Slow down.
Right, yeah.
Showing mercy, because, justice is law tempered with mercy.
Right.
So showing mercy. And 2, they've gotten much better at when there is a confrontation with a citizen, they don't go to the low level of the citizen. So the citizen starts cussing out the officer doesn't curse back.
Okay.
You know, get on the ground, MF, get on the ground, blow your blinking brains out. They started stopping a lot of that.
Okay.
They've been more professional when it comes to them. No matter what the citizen does. Oh, you pig, you da. Sir, ma'am, please lower your tone, please. You know, they've gotten much more professional as opposed to, and you've watched cops like me, when they cussing people out, oh, you know, and they're as bad as.
I mean, I'll admit it. That was me.
Yeah.
And like I said, you're right. We can do better.
Yeah, you are professional with the citizenry. Mm-hmm. Because as you've seen when you go to these fast food restaurants or anywhere, they said the customer's always right. Boy, the dadgum customer, you raising all kind of sand in the store. And the person behind the thing says, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. But at the end of the day, they're going to make that decision about whether or not they're going to sell this item to them or take the item back or whatever. So you got all the control.
Right.
If you're going to arrest him, you're going to arrest him. If you're going to put the cuffs on him, you're going to tase him. You're going to do what you're going to do. So when law enforcement and I was a correctional officer, when we start showing the same attributes as the people that are the criminals,
okay,
it's hard for the public to distinguish between them. So I've seen law enforcement get much, much better at being much more professional in how they handle the citizenry, showing mercy to the citizenry, allowing, some guys, if you catch him, he ain't too drunk, say, hey man, I'm gonna follow you home, okay? And because I don't want you to lose your job. I don't want you to have to go in front of the judge. I don't want your name in the paper. I don't want your children knowing about this. And that guy is going to tell you, man, thank you.
So I'll end with this story that goes right with that. It was probably midway through my career. I stopped a guy. He was like, look, I got a wife at home. I'm the sole breadwinner for this household. Man, if I get a DUI, mm-hmm. I'm not going to survive this. And I was like, all right, well, I said, who do you want me to call? And he said, whatever you do, don't call my wife. She's at home with 2 young kids.
Wow.
You know who I called? His wife. About 2 years later, I was getting my hair cut, and the lady cutting my hair, she was like, a friend of mine, and she said that dude they ended up being mutual friends, and she said that dude has never drank since then because he didn't lose his job. But I'm gonna tell you, when Mama showed up, she did more than any judge would do, or anybody else would do. She corrected that behavior.
There you go. There it is.
So I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I appreciate your time. I appreciate everything that you're doing. I didn't realize how involved you were in some of the stuff that Turning Point was doing, and I just think it's amazing having the voice that you've had and having the impact you've had. So,
well, brother, it's fun, especially when we won the election last year and we saw that there were benefits behind it. All the work we had done. I was in Fort Lauderdale. I was on the stage with Candace Owens and Dave Smith and Patrick Bet-Davids. Man, there was thousands of people there at this thing. And I didn't understand it. Right. But people just wanted to be, they wanted to be around each other. They wanted to be able to celebrate together because we anticipated a Trump win. And we got there. There were people everywhere. I got on the stage and we were supposed to entertain the people while the night was going through. Dude, I was up there from like 9 o'clock to 3 in the morning. And I had to catch a flight to Kansas City to do a speech at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
It was electric. And when he won, that place went crazy. And we all started celebrating. And we said, America's not insane. That it rejected this crazy, insane policy of the Democratic Party. And then when I checked, how did we do in the black community? They said for the first time, the Democrats did not get 80%, 90% of the black vote since the 1800s. Matter of fact, this is the most of the black vote the Republican Party has gotten since Reconstruction. And I said, glory, hallelujah, we finally found a way to make the dent. And we made it because of people like you, people like me, people like April Chapman, people that are on the podcast and going out there and spending their time telling the truth. We're not waiting for the gatekeepers anymore.
Right.
We're saying we're going to talk.
We're taking our message directly to the general public.
And it scares the elites to death, don't it? Mm-hmm. Because they can't compete with the truth.
They've invested in what do they call it, legacy media.
There you go.
And, they're going to repeat the same story.
Same story. And then they hear the truth from us. And we say, no, check this out. You'll find that it's true. And now the people are waking up. And it's like when Gutenberg invented the printing press, right?
Right.
Everything opened up. And now this is opened up. So now we can all speak. Isn't it amazing? Two old guys like you, me and you can have our own TV show without asking nobody any permission at all. Yes. Where back in the day, they had to decide, no, you can't be on.
Yeah, we don't want you.
We don't want you. We don't want to hear
anything. And if you got
on,
they would like cut it up so much that you didn't recognize it.
Exactly. And now technology has gotten to a point, and they're trying to stop it. Of course they're trying to stop it. They're trying to shadow ban and censor and all this and all that and all that. But they can't stop it, man. The truth crashed to the ground will rise again. And we'll tell them the truth. And just like Charlie walked into Oxford. Did you see that debate?
Oh, that was awesome.
Boy, he just kicked.
And the thing is the humility of, I do not have the education that you have. And just admitting that out of
I don't have it. I've never been to university.
And I saw the one where he was talking to that young lady, and he basically said, like, in his argument and it was him taking his life experience and explaining to her, like, hey, and he did it in such a way where I don't feel like she felt like she was stupid or anything else. It was like to me, it captured what a institution of higher learning should be, is bring somebody in that you may or may not agree with, but have a civil conversation and then realize the humanity of each one of the.
Like you said, that was cool. He was at Oxford debating. And they were going back and forth. And Oxford is good. They bought Malcolm X there back in the 60s. And they're good at doing this. And I'm glad to see that they did it, and we're glad to see the outside won. Yeah. Because when it comes to ideas, our ideals are better. They
they're not from this world. That's why.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a higher power.
It sure is, brother. And that's what we adhere to. And our Bible has been the best-selling book in the world for the last 2,000 years for a reason. All your answers are there. And that was Charlie Kirk's superpower. He always, like boxing, you go back to the jab, Charlie went right back to the Bible every time. And his answer was always there. That's what I do too. I go right back to my Bible. It led me to exactly where I am. And that's how me and Charlie converged. I did a book called 25 Lies. And my agent had me on Charlie's show. Tell you this real quick about Charlie. I'd heard of Charlie, but Charlie was young. And Charlie died young. He was 31 years old when he died. So this was like maybe 3 years ago. So Charlie was like 28. A little snot-nosed dude, for what I'm concerned, right?
Right.
I'm 62 now, so I was like maybe 59 then. But I'd heard of Charlie and I'd seen his stuff, and I knew he had a show. And I said, but I'd done Hannity and Tucker and all these big shows. So, but doing Charlie was all right. So anyway. And you know how it is when you do one of these interviews, you have kind of a split screen, and before you do the interview, you're kind of waiting for the guy to show up. So I'm there early, and I'm sitting there, and Charlie comes sits in his show. He sits down, and I see him, and he says, "Oh, hey, Vince, how you doing?" I decided to have some fun with him. "Hey, Vince, how you doing?" I said, "What you call me, boy?" He said, "Sir." I said, "You called me Vince. How old are you?" He says, "I'm 28." I said, "Well, I'm 59. Well, you called me Mr. Ellison." He said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Ellison. I'm sorry." And I just started laughing. I said, "Well, I'm just messing with you, Charlie." He said, "Come on, dude. You always give me all
He's like, what have I done? Where do I go from here?"
And we had the interview, man, and we became fast friends afterward. Charlie and I nerded out on John Locke. We didn't, most men nerd out on beer and watching football. We talked about John Locke afterward for an hour. The second treatise of the government, that your rights come from God. They're unalienable. They're irrevocable, non-transferable, unsellable. Right. And we just talked about that, and after that, we became fast friends. I started speaking for TPUSA because Charlie saw that we were right here. We came together based upon our Bible, our beliefs. As men, we believe there was no flaw in the Bible, and that all your answers are there. And that if ever you had a question, that's where you went, and that's where we got all our answers from. And we became fast friends, and we kind of bonded on that.
Man, this has been a great experience for me. And
oh, man, it's great for me also.
I hope to catch you at some point, but you got a really big head start. So thanks a lot for coming on.
Man, you ain't going to just catch me. You're going to pass me.
I don't know about that.
You'll be fine.
All right. Thanks a lot, man.